Good evening, our viewers from wherever you're watching us from. Karibu sana into yet another episode of the Youth Nation Show, your all-time sport, and I am your favorite host, Maureen Boyani. Thank you so much for choosing to join us this evening. Thank you so much for always tuning in to PrayerCaveTV. And as I usually say, I'm grateful that you get impacted, you get nourished and equipped through every program that we bring to you every single day. And asanteni sana for your great support. Thank you for writing to us and letting us know where you're watching us from this evening, and I know you are looking forward to this episode tonight. And before I go much further, we know we have our on and only
kama dawa mazee, it's your guy Ron Kenoli. Welcome back to our podcast mazee. This evening tumewangoja sana and we are very grateful that you've tuned in. There's so much that we want to touch on today. We have our guest with us leo. Na kitu yenye tunataka kuguzia mazee, it's quite crucial mazee.
But I know it's going to be a very interesting conversation because somehow kuna venye huwa tunaanguka hiyo place sana. And it's very crucial. Why do we say that? Yeah, it's connected to destinies, you know, and it's everything that we wake up working on every single day. It's something that is attached to our destiny. And why we say that, it's because it determines whether we make it or not. Why? Because whatever we become, it's definitely us putting work into it. It's not just something that you wake up in the morning and it happens. You have to put work into it. For the end of the day, you are going to actualize and realize your dreams. And we're going to talk about goal setting and achieving them. Most of the time we set these goals. And I know every beginning of the year,
resolutions.
I know.
What are resolutions?
I know. We sit down and we have this list of the things we want to accomplish, things we want to do, and we know by the end of the year tutakuwa tume achieve these things. But why does it happen that sometimes we don't end up doing what we said? And I think sometimes, I don't know, but we have our guest today who is going to tell us and demystify this thing for us and tell us, is it that we make unrealistic goals? And then we are going to talk about how to make smart goals that we are going to achieve. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Kindly just say hi to our viewer tonight.
Well, good evening. My name is Joseph Kuria. I'm a speaker, an author, and a trainer. That is a self-development trainer. Above that, I'm also a student at the University of Nairobi. I'm pursuing journalism and communication studies. Above that, I've also pursued a diploma in psychology. And on the other hand, I stay with kids. I manage a children's rescue center. It's named Everlasting Love Children's Rescue Center. And there I'm a father to many kids. And that actually forced me to mature early enough because I had to take over the parental responsibilities. So basically that is Joseph in simple words.
The University of Nairobi.
Wait, washaanza kuitwa father. Father of many.
They call me uncle, but because I'm the one who stays with them full time, I'm there. Everything I do for them now, I think I have to play that fatherly mandate.
Definitely.
Wow.
That's so beautiful. That's so encouraging.
Thank you.
Was that part of your goal setting for this year?
Not okay. One of my goal setting this year was that I wanted to create good relationship with the kids. And interestingly, based on I realized when I first began staying with the kids, my sister is the owner of the rescue center. She's only 27. She began the home at 20 years. That is through feeding street kids. Later on now she decided, let me now, because I'm feeding them but they're still going back to the streets, let me come up with a place where I can give them refuge. So later on when I cleared high school, that is now 2 years plus ago, I joined her. And it is in that moment that now I began staying with the kids, and I realized they had been raised, you know, they call our parents Juma Umau, you know, the strictness. I was trying to, because that's what, you know, you'll act based on what you know and what you've seen. So I was trying to also subject these kids to the same. But I realized that they used to fear me when I come and come Kuja, they fear. I was trying to, whatever I'd seen with my teachers, with my, who some of them I don't think was the right way to handle things, or perhaps at that time it might have been. So one of my greatest desires this year was that I would enhance my relationship with the kids. And I tell you the truth, in fact, there's a time they refused to sleep before I came home. I had to make a call and say that I'll not come, I'll come the other day and I'll bring them some, because that relationship has deepened with them. So at least I can say there was a goal that was set and it was achieved.
Oh, beautiful. Maybe
people can be quite curious with the journey. Like, unamuaje at this young age kukuwa na such big agendas, goal setting, in fact even teaching on such. Ulifikaje in such a state?
Well, I think this journey never just began. It began way back when I was in primary school. But by then it was simply, how personally I began speaking in front of people, because I can say that was the foundation of even I teaching now on matters. Before later on I realized now this is my area of calling. There's a time we were forced into memorizing a poem. And those class 4 things. So the teacher subjected us into we must know. So we mastered, all of us, we mastered the poem. Now when I went back home in our home church, that was the poem I was shining with. So I would always request for opportunity. I want to present something, and then I'll get on the stage, present the poem, and then they would clap, and I repeated it by there severally. And they say when you give a joke twice, the second time people will not laugh because it is no longer a joke again. True. So it got a point and people are bored, so I had to come up with something new. And that's how now I began asking my mom, because she had a smartphone. So I used to ask her for stories. She was in a church WhatsApp group. So anytime she identifies a story that has some godly morals, I would master it. And because I never knew English, I used to cram. So I would read the story, cram it as it is, then I would go to church, present it, and it was troublesome because at some point you go there, you forget. The problem with cramming, when you forget a statement in the cramming, you almost forget everything. So that is how I began my journey in speaking. But now way later, I realized that, wait, I can speak in front of people. Why don't I make the best of these? And that's how I become a self-development trainer. And I can say, because I also saw the fruits of what I'm doing. I've been getting messages from people I spoke to in high school, and now they have cleared. There are people who are texting me, they are giving positive, that one day I was struggling with this and you spoke and I felt touched. And today I'm just saying hi, maybe even through comment section, because they don't have my number. So you realize that. So at some point you realize, wait, so what I'm doing. And one of the transformational moments that I remember is when there's a mother. My bishop had given me an opportunity to minister in church. That's why to all men of God who give these young kids who at some point they don't know what they are doing to do those things. Big up to you, man, because my bishop used to give me that platform. And there's this one time after I preached, but they used to go listen to a sermon, almost copy paste it, or with internet, you Google integrity, and then someone, and then I will Google guest stories minister. And there's a lady who came and said, "My son, you have really inspired me. You may not know what you've done to me, but you've inspired me." She was a lady singing in choir, an old lady with even kids. And as a young man, I did not know what she could be meaning, but later on it came to hit me. Wait, so even these older people, they're being inspired by what you're doing. I think there's something in this. And that's how now I began majorly focusing on now what I'm doing. And from then onwards, I've been focusing now on self-development. And you cannot, there's someone who says God cannot use you, or God cannot work through you if he has not worked in you. So it had to begin from a personal level. Today, if I'm to speak about something, I cannot come and speak of what has not worked to me, because how sure am I it will work out there? It's either it has worked in me, or we have a template somewhere. The scripture says, follow them through who patience and then endurance have obtained the result. So it is through observing, oh, this person did this and this and he made it. So personally, it also made me invest in myself, because there are times when I'm called to certain meetings and I refuse because I know I've not built capacity enough to speak. So I'm like, let me refrain and go invest in myself, then come back.
Because we are told we can't give what we don't have.
Definitely.
So it has to start with you. Now, when you talk about goal setting, what comes into your mind? Where do we even start from? Is it something we just, whatever comes into your mind, or what do we mean when you talk about goal setting? Well, because if you ask someone, they tell you they do that. But somehow you will wonder, why does it not work for them? So let's just start from, what exactly do we mean by when we say goal setting?
So for goal setting, And actually there's something you mentioned while you were beginning. You talked about the new year resolutions. And there are many years I began with new notebooks. Having written new year, this is my plan. And unfortunately there are times when none of them could, I want to read the Bible in 1 year. I want to build up consistent prayer life, and none of them could work out. So talking of goal setting, my understanding of goal setting is where there's something that you desire to achieve, or there's an outcome that you desire to have. And for that reason, you write it down, or you have it in your mind. You've pictured it, you've visualized it, and you have it in you. And this could either be short term or long term. And I say short term because for the long term to come, it is built by these short terms. When we talk about a chain is built by different links, small links. They make up a chain. Without one of them, it ceases to be a chain. So I believe that goal setting is coming up with things that you want to achieve, because I believe we were all created with a purpose and with a reason. But before you get to that purpose, number one, you must get that to know that purpose, and secondly, you must build towards it. So goal setting is simply writing down or visualizing the outcomes that you want to achieve in life.
So that tells us that there's the importance of visualization. Like, you have to have the imagery of where you want to get to or what you want to achieve. Then why do we not achieve this thing we have already visualized? Of course, as you have said in the beginning of the year, you have seen yourself being consistent in a particular thing. You've seen yourself reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. Then what happens in between? Because you already have the picture of what you want.
So I believe, number one, there are many reasons. There are many reasons that are toward us not achieving the goals. Because an average person will tell you that I plan to do this, I've not achieved any of them. And I was also a victim until recently when we came for long holidays. That's when I realized, so it is possible to set goals and achieve them completely. It is something I never thought it was possible. So in fact, even when you came to tell me about setting goals, I would be like, isn't stories a jabba? How it has never worked. And in fact, many other people, it does not work for them. So how will it for me? And but later on, I realized that there are many reasons behind us not achieving our goals. And number one is mindset. You will realize, let me use a Kenyan context. You will realize in Kenya, because of maybe how we are raised, the education system and everything we are subjected into, there are things that are not possibility in our mind. So for instance, you want to set a certain goal, but you are limited as a person in the mind, because when you go abroad, you'll find a kid, a young year old, when we are talking about maybe graphic design, that is something a 20-year-old is proud to have done. But when you go outside there at age 10, someone is already doing, I don't know, those complex terms in that sector of technology. So you see, just by the mere fact that that person is outside there's an exposure that they have received. But when it comes to our context, there is a certain mindset that we have. So you'll find that in as much as we've set goals, and most of these goals, they come out of emotions. A minister of the word will preach mightily. He will stir you up. There's this hormone called dopamine. Actually, it's not a hormone, it's a neurotransmitter. But that's a story for another day. So there's that neurotransmitter. And the moment what happens, and that's why you advise, don't speak of what you want to do it. Because when you speak, for example, when I say, I want to do this, I want to build a house, I want to buy a car, there's, because the work of dopamine is always to trigger the brain to release a reward. It's actually not the reward itself, but it tells the reward, this thing, it tells the brain, this thing, there's a reward, there's a reward that it is bringing. So release that feeling of that good feeling. So when you're talking about these things, dopamine is being released. So you'll be excited at that moment. And then when now it comes to actualizing, it's already gone. So you will realize that most of the people, even when they set goals, there's a sermon they listen to, there's a speaker they listen to. When we were in school, there were these speakers who used to come. The lion in you. Exactly. And they will speak to you and you will feel like, man, I'm going to get an A. Regardless of whether you're getting an E, a D or whatever, you'll feel like I'm equitable to this task. And you'll go in class, you will take the whole, now this is where now even the goals comes in. You'll create a timetable. I'm going to follow. In fact, you'll spend that whole preps creating a timetable. You will arrange textbooks. Tomorrow morning I'm beginning. And unfortunately, it only takes when you go sleep, wake up, you wake up normally. So most of the people, they even set those goals out of excitement. They have been excited by something. But you find that in reality, there's just that limitation. There's that limitation in the mind. So I believe one of the greatest things that hinders us is the limitation in the mind. Secondly, and it's something I believe I mentioned last time when we were discussing a certain subject, it is that we have not, there are distractions that come in. There's someone who said, when your dream is too big, some things become too small. So you will realize that people have not died to that thing that they want. They are not crazy enough for that thing that they want. For instance, you want let me use a context of a student. There's someone who wants to get a certain grade or a certain maybe GPA, but then this person, this thing is not in him deeply. So it is mere talking. They've even set the goals, and I'm going to do this at this time, at this time, at this time, but it is not. It has not sunk in their consciousness. It is not a reality. And by that reason, you'll find that this person, maybe when he has an option of missing class or being in class, and maybe there's kuna form mahali, so this person will opt for this form at the expense of the class, because it is still not a reality in him. Moyo na uko na usingizi na kitu fulani, kuna yenye unajipatanga umesema hiyo acha ikae, acha nilali usingizi hapa, but kuna ingine you just think you shoot out of bed no matter how sleepy you are. It reminds me, there's a day I was to go to Nyahururu, and I woke up only to see light. I was supposed to leave at 5 and I was shocked because I was representing someone. Anyways, you'll find people, they have not died enough to this, and it reminds me of a certain story. This I don't know if he was a king in Spain. So they used to go for battle in the shows of I think, I don't know if it's Mexico. I think it was Mexico. So they used to go for battle. So on that particular day, this leader, let me call him a leader because I'm not sure if it was a king, but I know he was from Spain. He took a team of 600 soldiers, and they said, we are going to conquer that area in Mexico. And they packed themselves, took some boats and went. But after they go to that land, this king realized that these people are already fretting. My soldiers are fretting. They are fearing they will be killed. In fact, some of them, they are rethinking to go back. Do you know what this guy did? He ordered the demolition of their boats. So all the boats that they came with were destroyed. So no turning back. Exactly. It's either you win or you die. And I tell you the truth, these guys, they knew, and that's one of the things that I'll advise anyone who is struggling with goal setting. Eliminate any plan B, or rather any other plan that you may be having, because or any plan of failure. It's either you make it or you make it. So because after that happened, these guys, their mentality changed. So it's either we die or we fight. And they had and of course no one goes to fight while thinking of losing or of dying. So they gave their best, and by the end they had won. Interestingly, when you set your goals and you can always have a plan B. You can always say, in as much as this one never made it, I can fall on this. But when you have died enough for that goal, there's nothing that can limit you.
Yeah, it is true. And I'm thinking that is the moment where you're fighting for your life.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know you're fighting for your life, then you give it all that you have. Wow, that is
interestingly, allow me to give you another story. Someone told us when you use stories, they deeply sink. So there's this guy is called I think, I don't know if it is Plato. There's a young man who went and asked him, sir, how is it that I can be able to be successful as you are? Because by then Plato was known all over. He was, I don't know if I'm right, philosopher. He was successful, known everywhere, doing amazing things. So this young man went and inquired, and Plato told him, come and meet me tomorrow at this particular time aside the river. And that's what that young man did. The next day he came, went aside the river, and they met. But now here's the shocking thing. The Plato held his hand, and they walked together in the water. So they kept on entering, and the farther you go, the deeper it becomes. So and this young man was shorter than Plato. So the water reached that young man in the neck. And then Plato held him, submerged him in water. This young man began fighting for breath. Until he began turning blue. That's when now Plato removed him. And then he asked Plato, you want to kill me, or what's happening? And now Plato told him, I want to give you an answer to your question. While you were inside that water, what did you want? He said, I wanted air. He told him, if you want success, as bad as you wanted air while you were inside that water, then you will get it. That is the same thing with our goals. If you truly want to achieve that goal, I tell you the truth, it's because we are not always serious with our goals. If you go and check very well, if you know this is either it's a matter of life and death, you will always get it, because you know you have no other alternative.
It is either you make it or make it.
Exactly.
There's a place you've mentioned that purpose will lead to the place of goal setting. Kuna mse mwenye ana walk through life just for you know, you're trying to figure out is this what I want to do? Is this the course that I need to be in? Because unaweza kuwa shule but how feel course. Unaweza kuwa you are doing something, maybe it's a job and you are not feeling it. For a person, is it like it's a must that you have a purpose so that you can start the journey of goal setting? Ama you can just do goal settings without a purpose, then you go reach somewhere penye una feel it's not a must that I have to become that which I was purposefully made of, but I can become nisemeaje, like you can reach somewhere penye it's not just purpose, it's just goals that you're setting and you're achieving them.
I think there's something sometime back we talked about. It was between a job and your dream. And your dream in this case is more of purpose, because purpose is that thing that you are created for. And purpose always brings satisfaction, fulfillment. You know, there's a job you can go, you will get paid, but at the end of the day, there's no fulfillment. And there's something you'll go and do. In fact, maybe it's not income generating, after which you'll feel satisfied completely. So you'll realize that in most cases, if you are not in your purpose, which is paying you, there's a job that is paying you. So we say that use your job to finance your purpose. You get? So you'll use your job. For instance, I gave a good example. Personally, I'm in love with speaking. I'm in love with ministering the word of God, evangelizing, because I believe that's a mandate you are given. But you'll realize in most cases, when you go to minister somewhere, you will not be paid or anything. But remember, you have to use transport and everything. There are those costs. So, and when I go to speak to schools, they pay me, because maybe I do a lot of academic speaking in schools. So they pay me. And that is more of my job, which sometimes it does not have fulfillment, because you've been given a platform. You feel like ministering, but you're like, cheza chini hapo liambiwa ni masomo. So you'll realize what I get there is what now I invest on this other end when I go to minister. So you see, I'm using my job to finance my purpose. So you'll realize that purpose, in most cases, it is always financed by your job. So you can even have goals for your job. Because at the end of the day, for you even to rise in that job, for you to even grow in that job, you'll need these goals. Because you see, a goal is that thing that you want to achieve. And I'll give you a good example for even a goal is very important. These are, let me use a school example. In school, you will realize at the moment you're in school, and there is always that person who will keep on writing until the teacher tries to take away paper from them. I don't know if you remember those moments in high school. There's that person, you finished ulimaliza 30 minutes ago, and you're like, another. So unashanga, what is this person writing? And sometimes you'll realize there is someone who in fact mwenye maybe hata kuandika sana to the end, na anapita sana hata kuliko mwenye alikuwa anaandika mpaka 10 minutes after the slot of time imekwisha. This is always the difference in most cases. You will realize this person who is always writing has a goal. He knows very well, and this is a goal that he has died for. He wants to achieve. He knows very well, maybe when he left home, he promised the parents, when I come back, I'm coming with this grade. Or rather, he promised himself, by the time I leave this place, I want to live with this particular grade. I want maybe an A in this subject. So the moment he's in that exam, and he remembers I have that goal, and he knows very well maybe Kiswahili paper was not any good. He knows this is maths paper, and in fact maybe it's the last paper. It's either I score the marks that will replace what I lost in Kiswahili or something. So this person will give the best. He will try to write anything. He will not leave any blank spaces. You will realize that person who maybe even passes more than him will leave some blank spaces. But this person knows there's no room for, there's no chance. You are not giving failure any chance because you have that goal in mind. You know, so far what I've answered is not equitable to that marks that I want. So what this person will do, he will keep on pushing for for more marks, you will write anything.
That's
what utapata kuna mse mwenye exam ikiendelea amechila amelala, mse ana goal yoyote, bora nifanye teo nimalize, I'm good to go. Bora tumemaliza. But huyu wa goal anajua nyumbani nilipromise hivi, because that's what now a goal is. So for a goal, when you have that goal, it stimulates you to even go further, to even study further. And that's why I feel like that's why goals are they are very critical, they are very essential. And I've remembered something in relation to what you asked at first. Why is it that people are not achieving goals? Number 2 is people they don't believe in themselves. So it'll be like, let me give you a good example. When I was writing my book, at some point I kept on asking myself many questions, the silent conversations within. There were many. I was like, and who will even read this book?
It's literally on the cover.
And I was like, are there they are professors. In fact, why not? They have not even written books. So am I to even write? There are those questions that were arising. And most of the people, you'll realize those are questions that they get. Who are you to even do this? In fact, where are you even coming from? Where did you even school? Did you even go to the university? So there are those questions that will always stop people. So you'll find people, they'll never achieve those goals, because when they began, you remember what we talked about, the dopamine being stimulated? So that dopamine was stimulated, they are in for it. But when now it comes to the actual thing, they're like, and is this even possible?
But if you look at your history, you are like, hey, no way I can be doing this.
So that failure to believe in what you have in you, and that's one of the things that we must begin embracing. We must begin believing in ourselves big time. We must begin believing that this is the goal that I have, I can achieve it, I can do it, and after all, I have nothing to lose. Me always say, we came to this world even naked. You never even came with any clothes. There's nothing that you came with, so you have nothing to lose. But go for it.
The issue is the reason kwa nakuuliza hivyo, there are people trading life with the thought of job more than purpose. So for a person mwenye ako in job, is there any need for goal setting? Because for such a person, okay, tell me, for purpose, for purpose, there's an agenda you have from within. For job, it's just for the bills. Is it that the bills is the goals?
Do you know your job can be your purpose?
For real?
It can be your purpose. There are people, for example, even journalists. I don't know for you, but maybe this is what you are. This is the work that you are doing, but you are passionate about it. You feel, when will I be next on set? But there are people who they are not. They're doing a certain job because maybe it's what is available. They have not gotten that platform. So there are people who, after the end of the day, what they are doing is still their purpose.
And I also think what you're saying, there's someone who is in a job and they do goal setting because there are things they have to achieve, like paying bills, you know. That can be a thing. Like, there's this kind of life you want to pursue, and the only thing you can do is to get it through this job. So you can get to build goals through this job. Which should, one way or the other, it works. Only that this person is not in their place of purpose. But there are goals that he has and needs to achieve. And I'm thinking, when you were talking about believing in oneself, I'm feeling like there's someone who is telling us, like, mimi manzi na huanga nimejituma, like I'm sold out for this thing. But I feel like this is where habit comes in. We usually say habits cultivates character. And you see, so kuna tule tutu habits tuenye yeye tumemkalia. Like they are not being, like, maybe we can talk about consistency. Like for them it's about consistency. It's the only thing that kills their motivation to achieve this goal. What can we say about habits? Because I'm feeling like also habits have a thing of us not achieving our goals.
Actually, habits, they play a major role, because we'll realize there are habits that are positive habits, there are habits that pull you towards your goals, and at the same time there are habits that take you away from your goals. For instance, for someone who has a goal of saving money, but then you realize that this person has a certain habit, for example, of maybe, let me use drugs, maybe taking certain drug which consumes that money. You'll realize
use food.
Exactly. Some there are people who are infatuated with what are they called, these junk food. They are so when they get money, the supermarket they pick. So you'll find heavy investment on the junks and everything. So you'll realize those habits that they are doing there is what will make them not reach their goals. So you believe, and you see, for habits, this is something you see even for let me use, I'll go back to dopamine because it's something interesting that I came to realize. In fact, even today, this technology is using the dopamine, is taking advantage of the dopamine to create money. Because you'll realize with all these things, the way the videos are arranged and everything,
the reels,
exactly, the way they are suited to make you happy and to make you feel, they are all interested in. There is an agenda that they are achieving to make you. And something interesting I noted, when you want to live somewhere like TikTok, you don't live at once. When you leave, back, it will bring it. So you're like, so you press exit. Why doesn't it leave? I also realized that's also a strategy that they have. So what happens, you see, for our brain, and I think now this will relate well with that. What happens, our brain is always after these, always wants that quick, the dopamine hits. There's dopamine hits. This is where you feel good. Because we say dopamine, the work of dopamine is like a messenger. It's like a messenger telling the brain, this thing that you're about to do, it will make you feel good. Release that reward. So you get motivated in doing that thing. So you'll realize, for instance, when you're watching that TikTok video, what happens, because this is also a habit that takes away. Many people, they'll say, me this year, I want to build capacity. I want to read 4 books in a month, but only to end up consuming all their time through the phone. So this is what happens. The brain wants those quick dopamine hits, the feel goods, the quick feel goods. So when you watch a video and it makes you feel good, dopamine is released and it makes you feel good. So when you are to do something long term, because the brain is like, the reward for this thing, now dopamine tells the brain, the reward of reading this book is very far. So no need of engaging in it. Vitu za mbio mbio kufanya feel fit. So you are like, and that's why, you know that it's interesting. It is the same reason as to why people use phones in their churches. Watu watumia phone kwa church kwa sababu hawajaokoka. They are in fact in church because they are born again and they love Jesus. But what happens when a pastor is ministering, this sermon does not bring the quick dopamine hits. So the notification, umekuwa curious kuangalia notifications. Who has texted? It brings a certain thing. Like nani ametext, nani amecomment. There is a certain feeling it brings. So even in church, pasi amepreach, ameenda kupiga 1 hour. Msi ameboeka na feel like ikitu, because for the sermon, this is something that its fruits you may not see them at that time, but they're in the future. And you see the brain dopamine inaangalianga, inataka ile place yenye inaweza leta the instant gratification, those dopamine hits, because it's addictive. So utapata what happens, this person wakati yako church, utapata msedi hakuna kitu ya maana, ni kushinda tu akiangalia simu, kuna message imeingia, anawasha data pale WhatsApp na kitu. And I'm saying this because I've experienced it. And it's something while I was meditating, I realized, wait, so they're even taking advantage of us. So what happens, these daily habits, it goes way even, and that's why we need to get into moment of what is it called, you get into moment of yourself, thinking of yourself. I am not getting the right psychological term that is used, and it's the same thing that is used with people who take drugs. These people who smoke, when they're taken for rehabilitation, one of the strategies that is used, they are told, while you're smoking, be into that moment. So when you're smoking, feel that moment. What are you feeling? And later on they'll begin now by it tastes bad, but it brings a certain, they'll begin admitting
aftertaste,
self-absorption.
So they'll begin feeling, so it's not even like you get into that moment and then you realize, so it's not even something. So people need to get into those, because many people are there into bad habits that they don't even know. Wasi wengi wako kwa habits mbaya zenye wajui. So unapata msee kila siku akiamka kitu ya kwanza ni kuchukua tenje na kuscroll through. Msee realize hiyo kitu, there's something it is killing in that person. For you to go, even with reading, anytime, I don't know if you've been in a situation where you want to read and then you decide, let me check my phone first, then I get to read. Dakika mbili tu.
You take another 40 minutes.
Na hata after that, ukisema unaenda ukisema tunaenda kuchukua buku some, tricky. Because this phone releases high amount of dopamine. The dopamine hits are high. For the book, it does not release high amount of dopamine. Because remember, tumesema dopamine ina notify the brain. Kuna reward inakuja. We jipange manze. Release your reward. Feel good for that thing. So you'll keep on doing it. But for the book, where? I relate it. So ni kama sahi nikupe kuku na the best dish that you love. Ile chakula unapenda sana. After that nikulete maybe kitu kama nikulete kitu kama githeri. Ataka uko njaa, it will be hard to transit. So you've used something that releases high dopamine in your brain. Then you want to go for this thing that releases low dopamine. And that's where people lose it. You know, when I realized that, because I was addicted to my TikTok at some point, and what I had to do, I had to eliminate it at all. Nowadays, in fact, mimi natafutilianga time ya kuingia hadi TikTok, and this was something I would fear. You know, at times unajiambia algorithm yangu inaniletea summons, inaniletea vitu zina relate na kitu nafanya, but una realize still they kill number one, they kill that patience, because kupata mse mwenye anashindanga TikTok akiwatch 2 hours video, it's very hard. Ama kukaa in a meeting yenye inaenda very long, it's very hard, because there's something it kills. But I realized later on when I became conscious of this moment, and I realized this is a habit, and nowadays it's something that it's in me. I know nikiingia TikTok hit and waste, nikiingia hit and waste. Okay, at some point unaweza jipata, but it's not something that itakuja ikwe habit continuously, because you are aware. So people need to get to that moment. That's how you even break those habits, because there are many habits that destroy, and it is those things that we do on a daily basis that determine what we become. Those naweza kuwa nasema goal yangu ni kwa speaker mnoma Kenya, and as a speaker number one, I must build capacity. I must read books, I must listen to other speakers, I must do research, I must learn to observe. So I may say one of my goals is to become the best speakers, but my habits, they are not of any great speaker. They are for the casual speakers. So I don't read books, I don't do things. So unapata at the end of the day, I end up losing it. And let me attach something else to that. There's a role of knowledge in people achieving their goals. Do you know, interestingly, you'll realize that there are people who, for example, one of their goals was to start businesses. One of the men of God I love listening to in terms of the business sector is called Reverend Kula. And I realized that he began his business without his own money. He never used his money. He went and approached people who he pitched the idea to investors, and the investors were like, I think that's a brilliant idea. Make sure you don't make our money, you know.
Don't lose it.
Don't lose our money. So you'll be interested to know that people don't know you can begin a business without your money, and you give the shares out. People don't know that you can write a proposal for your activity to be funded. So lack of that knowledge. So msi ako like, sasa nahitaji kuanzisha hii biashara, nitatoa pay capital ya 500k,
and that's the excuse many people have. Like they can't start something because they don't have the resources to. Whereas, as you're saying, if you have the knowledge around it, then everything is available.
Definitely, because you know that people who begin business even without resources. Kuna mtu atakuzia kitu hakuna. I've seen such people. Kwa mimi nauza kiti, I can set you such a sofa. Uko na how much, na nakutumia picha, alafu kidogo napiga simu pale, ile sofa iko utanipea na ngapi? And that person even ndo anapata capital, ajaibia mtu, ni business amefanya. So this person will begin a bigger business even without capital. So people lack of knowledge. There's that aspect of lack of knowledge. In fact, it is what, because the level of exposure to light, which is knowledge, will determine the level that you'll rise. You can only rise to the level that you can only rise as much as you know. What you know is what will determine how far you will go. So people, they lack. Of course, there's the aspect of knowledge, then you get to understanding, then you get to wisdom. For knowledge, it is what you know. Understanding is comprehension of what you know. Then wisdom is the application of what you've understood, what you know and have understood. So it has to get to those levels. But to begin with, we need that knowledge. People begin exposure. They need to begin realizing that there are these things out here.
There's a place for knowledge that ningetaka turudi. There's a place for knowledge where I would like us to go back. But there's a place you've mentioned, the habits. And they say that if you have a goal and you have the habits of achieving it, you will always achieve it. And if you don't have that goal, but you still have the habits of achieving it, you will definitely achieve hata kama uko unajua. And that's one of the highlights. But before that, guys, I would like us to take a short commercial break. Please don't touch the dial. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us, Maze. This is the Youth Nation show. You're watching us on PrayerCaveTV. Kumbuka kulike, kusubscribe and make sure you're leaving a comment, Maze, kama hii show inakusaidia. And if you have an idea or anything that you'd like to pass across, there's a number on your screen. Definitely you can send us a message, or you can also do that on the comment section. Tunataka kuguzia on something about challenges, because we've touched on knowledge. Now you know, you have the knowledge of doing goal setting. You now understand purpose and all that, right? The place here, what are the challenges in unaweza sema like people have when it comes to setting goals?
I think the biggest, and this actually is at the center of all, it is the fear of failure. People have fear.
Who wants to
People have fear. People fear a lot, and this is what people fear. Number one, what will people say?
Definitely.
That's why people will never announce their goals. So why is it that you don't post at the beginning of January? This year, this is what I want to achieve.
Because if I don't
People will
achieve,
be
you guys won't know.
will criticize me out of that. So I think one of the greatest things that happens, it is the fear of failure.
Yeah.
So there's that fear that what I'll fail, I can begin this, and then later on it may not make up. So people will never start. Do you know there are people begin even businesses without knowing even where customers will come from?
Yeah.
Someone will just open a hotel. There's no one who guarantee that person that people will come to eat there. It is just risking. So people risk, and out of that risk, they get the opportunities and they get to achieve. So most of the people in their goal setting, one of the things that they have, they fear taking risk. They're like, for instance, let me use a current example. I'm planning for my book launch on the 19th of October. That is the third Saturday after the third Saturday of this month. And I was having a lot of fears because I booked a hall. At first I wanted to book a smaller hall of 50 people. Then I began counting my friends who will come, and then I was like, 50 is too small. I went to 100, and then I counted, and I was like, I think they'll surpass 100. So I went to 150. And I booked a 150 seater hall, auditorium, capacity 150. But after that, I'm like, will people really come?
12.
I've never done this. In fact, I've never done any event. I've helped people organize the events, but that burden is always not on you. So you don't worry. You don't care whether people will come or not. So there have been those fears. And in fact, even some of my family members, and this also goes to another challenge, people talking you down. And people limit you. You remember what we talked about mindset? People limit you based on the experiences. When I said it is on 19th, my mom was like, is that not too close? There's this is too close. My sister was like, 19th, at least take it far. That is too close. At least people, they should have known. We should have prepared. We should have, because the budget is more than 100,000. So that you will, and you are not working at where you are consistently expecting to get you don't have that
just to raise
continuous flow of money. So they were like, I think this is too close. And at some point I began questioning myself. I think they are making sense. And but I had to rise above those because I'm the carrier of that vision. But then you know, even the closest people to you, they may at times make you divert from your goal and fail to achieve your goal. Because these people, it is out of love. The people may love you, but take you out of your destiny. I'm tempted to give a story.
Give it.
I give a story. A man observed, he was observing a butterfly. You know, butterfly undergoes stages. There is the pupa, there is the larva, that metamorphosis. So it was at the last stage, and it was coming out of the cocoon. So it was trying to get itself out of that cocoon, and it was struggling. So this man was just seated watching. It struggled. Then at some point it stopped, and it stayed for some minutes. And this man was like, the way you are doing well, what is happening? And he decided, let me help it. And that's how he decided to take a pair of scissors, cut off the cocoon, and left it. So he was expectedly waiting for it to fly because the wings were actually out. Shockingly, it was only swollen at the point where he cut, and that butterfly kept on moving around. And there were some other butterflies aside which were also undergoing the same process. They were just flying. What this man realized later, when this butterfly is pushing itself out of the cocoon, the moment the body is pushing itself outside, there's a fluid that flows out of the body to the wings. And this fluid gives the wings the energy and the strength to fly. So you see, this man averted certain certain process.
Yeah.
And it was out of love. It was out of he was genuine with what he was doing. Some people, out of their genuinity, wanting to help you, they'll try to remove you from a certain pin which you require to achieve that given goal. So sometimes you should even be keen. It could be even your mentor. It could be your parent. It could be that close person with that need, with that desire to help you. So sometimes you must go, and that's why we need to know ourselves. We need to know the strengths that we carry. We need to believe in ourselves big time. And that's why now you'll realize it's a great challenge. Fear. People fear what will people say. And oh God, can I give another illustration? I'm tempted to keep on giving this illustration. There's an experiment that was done, because I know many people, they fear that people will say things. People are watching them, waiting for them to fail. I realize people are not even caring.
They don't.
They are not interested.
They're not watching.
An experiment was done. It is called the Dartmouth experiment. I've actually captured all of these, majority of these concepts in my book, The Silent Conversations Within. In the Dartmouth experiment, what happened? Some people, let me not call them specimen. There are some individuals who were taken to a room. Then they were placed in a room without mirrors. There was no mirror. Then there was the facial makeup artist who came, and he drew their faces. So he drew their faces with scars. And then later on, he told them that you leave and go outside there. We want to know how are people perceiving individuals with scars on their faces. But before they left, these guys did something. They said, let us perfect those scars. So this man came, but he never perfected. What he did, he rubbed off the scars. But these individuals still think we have the scars. But this guy rubbed off the scars. So in fact, they thought it is even more intense. They stepped out there. And while they were walking, later on in the evening when they came back, they will complain, people are heavily judging us. People are looking at us with a certain eye. In fact, some were even talking to us rudely because of, how we look, the scars. And shockingly, they never had the scars. And that now brought out the concept that people, in most cases, what you perceive or you expect people to perceive of you is what is always happening. That is what will always happen. If you expect that people will talk about you when you try to do a certain thing and it does not happen, that's what will be in your mind. And in fact, you will not even do it because you'll fear, or you will do it and there's a possibility you'll fail.
Because you already fed yourself with that.
That is the perceivement that you have. So people don't care with what you are doing. No one. Have you ever seen scenarios where you walk and then you reach somewhere, you realize I forgot something. So you pretend either you're making a call or you're checking your watch. Then you turn matatu wrong and you're like, hello, nakuja. Ati umesema nishuke kwanza. And in real sense, people are not there.
It is true, and they don't even notice. They don't know what is happening.
Exactly. But we are full of that aspect that people are watching us, and they'll judge us. They'll say things about us. But in reality,
but aren't we the stars in our own lives?
People forget about that.
We are the stars in our own lives. We cover that place of challenges. And okay, there's one thing we mentioned about the fear of failure. There's also something that I noticed, this fear of success. Because what if I do it and it actually works? There are people who have that fear and they end up doing things that will limit the success that can come out of whatever you are, like for you, whatever you're planning to do. Just an encouragement. The earlier you do it, the earlier you learn, the faster you learn. So yende vizuri, yende mbaya. Now you learn it even quicker, sindio? And for the place of goal setting, I understand there's short term, there's a mid-term goal setting, there's long term. For you now, an explanation for the timelines.
Allow me to handle 3 different things. The first one is something you talked about. People fear success. Interestingly, it's also something I've experienced. Interesting. I'm loving this because it's realistic. And I realized if you have not grown to a certain level, you will fear that level. There are levels you grow into. There are levels. Have you ever seen even someone who, there's this man called Githeri man, I don't know, let me just mention. This man received money and land and everything.
There was something he was given recognition by the president.
Exactly. He's somewhere engraved in the status or those records of the presidential something. Interestingly or shockingly or sadly, this man some few years ago, I think last year or early this year, while being interviewed, he was saying like they never helped me too much. I don't know, they only gave me what amount of money. In fact, even if it was a mention, that's enough.
It's enough.
Yeah, it's enough to take you out.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about Goliath because of a simple video. No one even gave him money. It's that simple video. There's a
giant walking in
there's something that came with that, and the person who took that video maybe wanted to shame him. See this guy, but you see, it came with something good.
Yeah.
So you see, most of the people they'll fear those success because they have not grown into those levels. So you'll realize this man received that money, but he had not grown to that money.
Yeah.
Maybe he was used to getting 20 bob, 30 bob, 50 bob, 100 bob. So when he gets this huge amount at once,
he doesn't know how to handle it.
And of course, because he has not grown to that level.
Yeah.
So there are levels that we need to grow to. That's why we need to build capacity. We need to make as many mistakes as possible.
Yeah.
You make mistake, you learn. There is something that always comes with failing in anything. So there is that thing of fear of success. But me, I think that the remedy to that is growing. Grow into that level.
I think someone said that it is very important when you take risks and fail, because at least even when you fail, you tried to work it out. Unlike someone who feared risking, so they never tried, they don't know the challenges, they don't know what they need. So trying it and failing, it is part of building capacity, and it is a process of learning, definitely, because in this life we learn, relearn, and learn. So the moment we are going to start now, you will know, I won't take this path, I'll take this one.
Always.
And just to add on something else, I said 3 things. The second one, there's something about procrastination. You see, when you talk about procrastination,
that's a topic.
That's a topic by itself.
This is something that many people are being affected with. Procrastination, the killer of time, the thief of time. And something interesting that I noted about goals and that greatly affect goals is the procrastination aspect. Because most of the people, they always like, let me do it later. Let me do it later. But one thing that happens, and this is something that personally I practiced it and I realized it works. Anything that takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Yeah, anything. So long as it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. And the reason is because I found myself in a situation where I tell, there's someone who we are always together, I tell him, remind me to call this person, remind me to call this person. At the end of the day, there are many, you don't even, and if you are to call, you even call one. And when things bulk up, you end up even losing the motivation to do that thing. Because it is the things they have, they are too big for you to handle. So I realized anything, if it's that phone call, hello sir, I was just calling you and just to inform you that tomorrow I'll not be there and this will happen. You've finished less than 2 minutes. Done, it doesn't have even to be long. Anything, when there's something you have to do, to tell someone to do something, anything below 2 minutes, do it now. Then. It will eliminate the bulking up of these small activities.
I love that.
And then there's another thing. Allow me just to bring it up because it's something that I'm remembering now. Another thing that makes many people fail to achieve their goals is that they approach it. They have like unrealistic goals. Have you ever seen someone? Let me go back to school. Someone scores an E or a D or a C. I have no fault with anyone who scored that. But this person targets an A in the next paper.
I know.
How unrealistic is that? And that thing, it ends up killing you the more.
Miracle happens.
Miracles happen, but in this scenario, you have to give your best. You have been told you'll reap whatever it's almost impossible.
It is true.
Because you'll realize the moment now you've targeted, you had a C and you target an A and you fail to hit it. And also the time span matters because if you say maybe it's by the end of the year, it makes
that makes.
But now when you want to move from this to this, you want to get from a salary. Okay, I understand the aspect of miracles, but also when setting goals, let it be realistic. There's a guy called Desmond Tutu. He was one of the people who was fighting up at the regime together with Nelson Mandela. And one of the things that he said is that the only way to eat an elephant is a bite at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
And I want you to imagine you have been presented with these huge elephants. And you've been told you have maybe one, maybe you've been given 1 year to eat that elephant. It seems very possible, but when I tell you eat this elephant now, because it's almost impossible. But when I tell you have 1 year, it piece by piece, and you'll eventually finish. So always break that thing that you want. Let it be into small segments, small achievable segments. Sometimes when you achieve something, you even feel good. Don't pressurize yourself. You know that aspect of people, they don't sleep, they even their body over, this body needs rest at some point. So have a goal that is it's manageable, something that you can hit. Then now there's something you asked about, the long term, mid-term, and the short-term goals. When it comes to the short-term goals and the long-term goals, let me use the two to distinguish. The long-term goals, this is something that you want to achieve in the near future. But your long-term goal, your short-term goals needs to be something that builds up on your long-term goal. For instance, in the near future, you want to have money enough to build a certain maybe house or something of the sort. Let your short-term goals be something that maybe talks about increasing your salary. Maybe if you do sales every day, want to increase two sales to two people to make two more sales than what I used to do. Those are short-term goals. They'll eventually build up on that long-term goal. But don't let these two things not relate at all, because there are people who, they'll tell you, I want to be one of the biggest producer in the near future, but what they're doing is totally different. Their short-term goals is quite very different. I understand there's that position of having something different, but you're also building on the same thing. I've seen people who are doing certain things, but also they are building on a certain matter, step by step, and eventually they achieve it. So let your short-term goals be something that builds up on your long-term goal. You remember what we said, when that link is missing in a chain, that chain ceases to be a chain.
Wow. Time is really flying, bana maze. There's still so much that we wanted to talk about, but we promise this. We have to do a retake for this.
Definitely.
And thank you so much, Maze, for tuning in. We've covered so much, and we just hope that the knowledge in tumeachilia hapa, it's something that you're going to take action on. We've talked about using phones, the dopamine, like the release that you want, talking about your goals, setting, understanding timelines and all that. Maze, we just hope that it has edified you, and we just hope that you're going to use whatever we've shared with you in your life. What do you have to say, Maureen?
My punching line today is just to remind you that whatever we've talked as setting goals, it happens when you take actionable steps. So it's not just about saying, it is about doing it. Thank you.
Wow.
Invite us to the book launch.
To any young person that is watching, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just need to take that first step. That thing that you've always desired to achieve, it is very possible. Go for it. You don't have to see the whole structure for you to begin. Begin with that small part that you are seeing. And I guarantee you, I promise you, eventually you'll get the results. God is on your side. You have connection with the owner of the earth. And finally, let me invite you to my book launch, which will be taking place on the 19th of October from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the University of Nairobi. Kama uko pale na ulikuwa unataka kukuja UN na ukufika, you take this opportunity. On 19th tupatane, all roads are leading there. Let's launch this amazing book titled The Silent Conversations Within. You can check it out on my social media handles, Joseph Kuria, where you can even place your order. But don't miss out on this. This will be something great. Usiachwe nyuma. May God bless you.
Awesome. Remember, the book launch inafanyika 19th. You can always remember to turn up, Maze, and represent kama kawaida. My name is Ron Kenoli Okusi, and I'm very glad that you've joined us.
And I've been your favorite host, Maureen Boyani.
Remember, habits and knowledge. See you next time. Peace.